Hello class. In this video we're going to make section perspectives and exploded axons, or at least start setting them up in Sketchup, show how to begin to render them in Enscape, and then ultimately do some work in Photoshop. Now there's different ways of setting up exploded axons and section perspectives. You could use a section tool in Sketchup. Has some benefits, has some drawbacks. What I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to just break my model apart, because it's much more easier for a little easier for lighting, much more easier for making the exploded axon when I want several pieces of the model in one drawing. So I'm going to show you that. The same principles will apply for the section perspective, which you also have to do for this assignment, although I won't necessarily take you through all of those steps because it's just the same thing, just applying the same material. Now, since I am going to break my model apart, it means it's going to be non-sort of editable or easily for a regular model. I don't want to lose this model. So the first thing you want to do is save this as. So I'm going to like save as. I'm going to make like exploded axon and save it, just so I have my regular model made. If I need to edit it or change it or go back to a re-render, whatever, I have it, because this is going to totally be pulled apart. That's just as an easy way of modeling. And the other thing is I'm going to get rid of all the stuff I don't need. This is drawings more focused on the interior and the architecture, so I'm going to delete everything on the outside of my model here. And there we go. And I have a little bit of a basement. You don't necessarily need one for your lesson. It's not even complete because it was underground, so we'll just ignore that for now. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is set up my section cut planes. And I'm going to make planes where I want to break my model apart, and we'll use intersect with model in a few steps from now. But I'll just make a plane so it's bigger than my building. Doesn't matter how big, it just has to be building. And I'm going to make this plane a group. Okay, so I'm going to make it a group, and I'm going to move it up to my first level. Now you want the level to be sort of above the windows, so that way when you cut, you sort of cut the windows, but not too high in the drawing. So really just above the windowsill. So that'll be my cut for my first floor. And then I'm going to copy this up to the second floor and have a cut above the second floor as well. Now this cut plane is a little difficult because of the roof angles. And I might need to fix that somehow moving forward. We'll see what happens, how we do that. But I'm going to have these sort of two planes and these two groups that I'm going to cut the rest of my model. Now, if I want to cut the rest of my model apart, the easiest way of doing that is to really sort of ungroup it all, explode all the groups. I like to work in a lot of groups and components, but we're going to have to take that away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my entire building. Now, I don't want to explode the groups of my planes because I want to be able to delete those in a few steps really easily. So I'm going from left to right on the screen, making sure I'm not getting the groups, or if you do, just deselect them. Now, as a note, I'm just going to turn off shadows really quick just to make this go a little quicker. You don't have to, you may not, but there you go. So I've got all the building groups and components selected. I'm going to right click and say explode, and I've got a lot here, so this will probably take a few seconds to explode. We'll just give that a go. You can see, I guess, my cursor there as it's thinking. And I usually have groups within groups, so we'll still see I've got groups and components left. So I'm just going to right click again and say explode again. And we'll see if I've got any more. Nope, no more blue boxes, so I think that was it. So I've exploded all the building, which is why I did a save as, because if I want to edit it, I want to get those back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my model again, and I am going to do intersect faces with model, so that way it intersects with the planes that I have created. So we'll give that a go. This might take some time to do as well. And it's sort of thinking here. There's a lot of pieces in here, so it might take some time. I might even, you know what I might do? I might just edit this part out. All right, so I actually cut a couple minutes out where it's selected. You can basically see there's some lines there. I no longer need these planes. This is why I grouped them and did not explode them. So I can delete them. So we can see what I'm going to have is if I delete the basement and sort of ignore the basement, I'm going to have 3 sections in this model. I'm going to have the first floor, I'm going to have this up to the second floor, and then I'm going to have the roof area. They're all in straight lines. And so I could separate these. I basically just separate each section. I could do it a few different ways. I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to select it all and copy 3 times, since I want 3 sections just straight on top of each other. So I'm going to move it straight up right along the blue axis. So I'll move it up along the blue axis, and I'm just going to do it 2x because I want 2 copies of that, pushing the model a little bit here. We're going to delete a lot of this here in a second step here, so it should get a little easier on the computer. All right, so I've got 3 copies because I have 3 sections. If you have 2 sections, you'll only need 2 copies. If you need 4 sections of Exploded Axon, you'll need 4 sections, and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to set up a view just to help me fix these positions. So I'm going to go to camera, and I'm going to go to standard view, and I'm going to go to front. Now I'm still in perspective by default. Because it's an axon, this will be easier to do whether I'm doing perspective or axon anyway, but since I ultimately want an axon, I'm actually going to turn on parallel line projection, so I get a pure elevation. What that's going to allow me to do is start here, and like if I just want the roof, I'm just going to go and select just to below that line. And if I go right to left, it basically will select everything that the line intersects, so I'll know I've got everything below, and I'll just hit delete and remove that section of building, and there's the top piece. And then for this second piece, I'm going to have to remove the roof, so I'm going to come from the top down. I'm going to go right to left still, but to right above that line and hit delete. And then I'm also have to do the bottom of this one, so I'm going to go right to left from the bottom up to right below that line. And if you need to zoom in a little bit, which I probably should do, I probably should zoom in, but I think I'm going to be okay. So there's the middle section. And then for the bottom section, I'm going to come all the way down. I'm going to skip that line because I need to come all the way down to this line down here and delete that guy. And actually for this, I'm just going to get rid of the basement. So I'll just delete that out of here while I'm in there now. Now, when I turn the drawing, we'll see I've got an exploded axon. Now, I had to separate them very far because of, I had to set them very far because to delete those sections. Now I want to move them closer. So I'm just going to select this middle section, go to move, and pull it down. And I want to see some space in between, so I don't want to pull much further down than that. I want that gap there, and then I'll select the roof section and sort of move that down as well. Now, it's not uncommon, like in my case, make sure it's straight down. It's not uncommon, like in my case, there's a little bit of cleaning up I need to do. So for example, there's a little line there that I need to delete, and you might find your own lines as well. You might want to do something about the roof. If I was thinking about it, I might actually take this whole roof structure and actually just move it up to this level here. That might sort of make a nicer rendering. You might want to apply some different color materials to the wall or to the floors, things like that. You might want to add Enscape people in there. So there's a variety of things you can do to sort of enhance this drawing further, but you know all those skills, so I'll let you take care of that. And then once you do that, you can sort of open Enscape for the rendering. Again, making sure that I have a parallel projection view. So let me open Enscape here. Let's see, loading Enscape. There we go. What I want to do is I want to sync my views. So make sure that's checked on. If I need to zoom in a little bit, I'll just zoom in. You can turn your shadows on, play with your time of day, play with your lighting to get the view. What I should probably do, I have the gray background set. I have nothing there. I could actually probably should go into settings and turn on my atmosphere, just do a white background. So I have all white background. The shadows, in this case, I don't really want to see the shadow casting down there. So I could either do each level independently, or move off to the side or delete them if I want to have shadows on. Or what I can do is I can actually just go into atmosphere and turn my sun brightness off, and turn all my sort of light brightness off. And what that will do is it will turn off the shadows and I'll just get the rendering. So then you would export this into Photoshop, and then there's a bunch of work we can do in Photoshop, like cleaning up the cut lines as well as making connecting lines through there to finish this drawing. That would be the exploded axon. Now for the section perspective, you do the same thing. Go back to your original model, which I'm not going to do. Go and actually make a plane vertically instead of along the plane level. Move that to where you want to cut the section. Explode the drawing and delete the part of the side of the building that you don't want. Make sure it's in perspective rather than parallel projection, and do the same sort of thing. So that's the basic concept of how you might apply this drawing. And you would do an exploded axon or a section perspective just because you're trying to make a different drawing. And it's interesting to sometimes do different drawings. And have fun with it, see what you can do. It's just a different way of going about things. So good luck.